Can someone explain what threat or danger people sleeping in their car poses to society? It's primarily an anti-vagrancy measure to deter the homeless from living out of cars on the side of the road. You'll note that the states with more restrictive rules regarding it are those that have more restrictive rest stop rules. Once when I was on a medication that caused me to randomly fall asleep, I did a bunch of research on Arkansas laws specifically. As long as you have cash on your person you don't count as a vagrant here, so I just had an emergency 5 that I kept in my back seat along with my blanket and pillow. People don't like poor or homeless people. If you explain that you had to sleep because you didn't feel safe driving, then most people would understand. But if you live in your car, then people don't even want to look at you. In Norway, it recommended to stop for 15 minutes and you're tired. This isn't really an answer, but it's honestly ridiculous how many stories I've heard where people get in wrecks for this exact reason, while they otherwise would have been fined if they just took a nap. I mean, I can see where someone could get sick or something, but sometimes it's safer than driving while on the verge of sleep. This is what rest stops are literally for. It's dangerous being on the side of the highway. Even if you're off the main road, it's even more dangerous being off the interstate. It is an ancient conflict. Imagine the first tribes to use systematic agriculture in the various fertile valleys around the world thousands of years ago. It was a new thing, a new concept of land being owned. The nomadic tribes had their places, visited annually in many cases, but having no means of claiming or guarding such places. The idea of owning them would have been ephemeral at most. Then the nomads came upon a rudimentary village, a strange sort of place, with structures and families clustered in the midst of fertile fields by the river. They might have tried to sample the wares, which had always been a bounty of nature and her gods before. They might have just wandered into the village and tried to set camp for a night, but the villagers would not permit it. The nomadic tribes were doomed, though they did not know it. They could not compete with villagers. With their surplus of food, their large and healthy warriors, their new learning, they died out, or assimilated, till eventually there were very few left at all. By now there are almost none of any recognizable sort. Of few scattered remnants of Bedouin and Irish travelers, still hated and shunned. Property became the ruler of all people, the defining idea of civilization. And if you sleep in your car in a Walmart parking lot, you face the ancient war. If you stay a moment too long at a rest stop, you threaten the very foundation of property culture, though the police enforcing it are unlikely to have any notion of this. You are just a nomad in a village, sampling their grain and defying their only true God. It doesn't need to make sense. It just is. Rest stops and Walmarts. One of my dad's friends pulled over to take a nap when he was tired. Another car hit his car and he was killed. You have to pull off far enough so that you and other drivers aren't in danger. The justification I've heard for not allowing sleeping on the side of the road is that road shoulders are designed for emergencies and should be kept clear as much as possible. For ambulances, car breakdowns, etc. Basically they are an emergencies only lane, and a car sitting there for hours, especially lights off and in the dark, is a hazard. The justification I've heard for not allowing sleep in a parking lot or other off-road space is either suspicious behavior, loitering, or nowadays, the possibility that the driver has OD'd. It is up to you whether you believe these are legitimate, pretextual, or a little of both. If you're trying to find a place to sleep for a few hours or a whole night for free while on a road trip, check out the iOverlander app. You can set it to wild camping and it'll show all the free camping spots on the map. I just got finished using it for a month's worth of camping and didn't have to pay a single dime for a place to sleep. They're not paying rent. Send them to jail and bam, you can charge them rent. I think the perceived danger comes from people assuming you're loitering or possibly scoping out the area to potentially commit a crime or rob it. I'm sure this varies from town to town, but a friend who's a cop suggested finding the local police station and asking them if they wouldn't mind if you took a nap in your car in their parking lot. He said they would prefer that than you causing an accident, because they'll think you're homeless and it's illegal to not be able to afford housing. I wouldn't say it's a danger to society per se, but more like the other way around. Many people were killed sleeping in their car. It doesn't. One time I had a work dinner and drank a bit too much. I didn't really notice I was that drunk until I got on the freeway. I pulled off the next exit, which happened to have a Target. Pulled in the parking lot. My phone was dead. Couldn't call my wife to come get me and I didn't have a charging cable with me. I decided to sleep it off. Something in the back of my mind told me to lay down in my passenger seat. Sure enough, within 30 minutes or so a cop pulls up. He was asking all the qualifying questions to give me a DUI and was frankly upset he couldn't give me one. He could tell I was pretty drunk. Had I been in the driver's seat, I most certainly would have got one, as according to the law it shows intent to drive. I told him I was dropped off at my car by coworkers after a work dinner and couldn't drive. He let me use his phone to call my wife to come get me. Then waited out of sight, hoping I'd get in the driver's seat after all. It often depends on the location. Sleeping in a car parked in an unused section of a parking lot shouldn't be an issue. Parking on the shoulder of the highway could be a major problem. Suppose first responders couldn't get around backed up traffic cause someone parked on the shoulder. Or what if it was a dark side road and someone else came speeding through? They don't see the car parked on the shoulder and crash into it. Because poor people are dangerous, unsanitary and unsightly. They make Karen feel uncomfortable. If you sleep in your car, you might be poor.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.